So Australia is taking steps to ban social media for children under 16 in a bid to limit the harm inflicted on young people. A national campaign has been led by radio host Michael Whipfly, who told this programme why this age group is most at risk.
We're talking about the perfect, the sensitive age of development, which is between 13 and 16. It's the adolescent years, and it's a very, very sensitive time of a child's life. So outside of that, social media has a place, and social media can do great things.
So let's discuss whether this is a good move or not. I'm joined now by Molly Kingsley, who's co-founder of Us For Them, a children advocacy group, and Conservative councillor and political commentator Noah Khogali. Very good morning to both of you. Very good to talk to you both. Molly, to you first of all. So Australia's government pledging to introduce what it's describing as world-leading legislation to ban social media for children under 16. Do you think that's a good move?
Absolutely. I mean, social media is addictive by design. It is having an absolutely catastrophic effect on child development at all ages. And, you know, technically here, children are not meant to have social media accounts before they're 13. We know the regime has failed. 75% of 12-year-olds have social media accounts. As your colleague said a couple of moments ago, it is a wild, wild west, and we have to do something about it. And I'm really, really heartened to see Australia take such a bold move.
No, what do you make of this? The Prime Minister in Australia says that social media is doing harm to our kids, and I'm calling time on it. Do you agree it's doing harm, and is this the way to tackle it?
No, ultimately, I sympathise massively with those making the argument to ban it. Unfortunately, it's both naive and unenforceable. Molly's just made the point there that even at the moment, there's rules limiting, supposedly, the ages of people going on social media. But you look at current 15-year-olds, so 15 to 16-year-olds now, 87% of them are on social media. They're not going to suddenly go, oh, some parliamentarian has told me I'm not allowed anymore. I'm going to shut down my account and everybody after me is going to do the same. We've got to be realistic here, put in guardrails to make sure they're safe. Just pushing them into the digital shadows doesn't help anybody. It might make people feel good, but it doesn't solve the problem.
Molly, what would you say to that? I mean, even if you agree it's a good idea, is it actually enforceable? Can you police these kind of rule changes?
I mean, we can't seriously be arguing that it's not possible to row back from the ubiquity of social media. I just don't think that's a credible argument. So I'll give you a couple of examples. First of all, you use facial recognition technology. Won't be straightforward, but that would be a massive step forward. That is what they are doing in Australia. The second thing you do is you introduce criminal liability, senior managerial offence, as they do in other regulatory licensing regimes. So you make breach of this, if your 12-year-old or 15-year-old, whatever it is found on social media, your senior managers in the tech industries get put in prison. That is what we do in banking. It is what needs to happen here.
What do you make of that? Sort of putting pressure on the tech firms, but also introducing and using technology to make sure that people who are too young don't get access. What do you think, Noah?
Ultimately, that's not even what the Australians are probably going to end up doing. They're not entirely sure how this is going to be enforceable, which is why this is a big story at the moment. Facial recognition for every single person using social media, number one, is a massive expansion of the ability of tech companies to intrude into our lives, a huge security risk for the state, and look, ultimately is going to be completely unenforceable. And if you've ever met a young person, you know they're going to find a way around it. They're just going to go to a parent, really plead, or an uncle, somebody, and they're going to end up on social media in the first place. What we need to do is make sure that social media is safe for young people. Put in different types of account for under 16s. Make sure that those environments are structured in a way that teaches them digital literacy, crucially, teaches them how to navigate really, really complex spaces that do exist in the world, and make sure that when they are in the internet without those guardrails, when they get older, that they are going to be safe, they understand how to use it, they understand the risks, and that we end up with fully formed, functional members of the digital society, as well as safe ones.
Molly, do you accept that there are some positives that can come from social media? If children feel isolated in any way, they may find a common cause with other people online that they may not find in their own classroom. And does Noah have a point there that education is key in children learning how to protect themselves. Do you think that there should be a wider discussion about how social media can be handled by children? Would that be helpful?
Well, I think there should probably be a wider discussion about how social media can be handled by all of us. And, I think, of course, I take the point that there can be benefits, but I think the vast majority of parents would say that those benefits are vastly outweighed by harms. And in fact, there was an Education Select Committee report back in May, just before the election. And it was very clear on this, that for most children, particularly young children, harms outweigh benefits. And we should not be giving our children access to products where the harms are greater than the benefits. It's that simple. I think, actually a really good example, just anecdotally on this, a few months ago, a friend's parent told me about a child that had been to, it was meant to be a stargazing party. And it was in the garden, it was in tents, and the daughter the next day came back in tears because apart from her, all the other kids, and they were 11, I should say, so really young kids, they all had phones and they spent their time on Instagram. And I think this idea that we can have safe social media. I mean, yeah, sure, we could strip back the worst of the criminal, pernicious content, but actually just the loss of childhood and the loss of time with social media is the issue.
I'm just going to cut in because I want to give Noah a word just for balance. And a last thought from you, Noah. We're very short of time.
Be that true as it may, you cannot shut Pandora's box. Empower through education, not prohibition. If a parent doesn't want their child on social media, then parent and don't let them on social media. Parents know their children better than the state does. Parliamentarians should not be intruding into the individual relationships between those parents and children who understand who their children are, what they can manage, and how to make them safe best.
Okay, well, Molly and Noah, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for joining us for this debate that I think will go on and on. Thanks very much indeed.